Yay lay 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 lay, yay lay 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 lay. Say shalom, shalom b'roma, ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
Say
Shabbat Shalom. Yalay, lalay, lay, yalay, lalay, lay, yalay, lay, 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 yalalay, yalalay. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. L'Adonai naria, naria, lezu yishenu. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. L'Adonai naria, naria, lezu yishenu. L'Adonai naria, naria, lezu yishenu. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir. Hine matov umanayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine, hine, hine matov. Hine, hine matov umanayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine, hine, hine matov. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir. Lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. Lechu neranne, lechu neranne, lechu neranne na. L'Adonai naria, naria, lezu yishenu. L'Adonai naria, naria, lezu yishenu. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Congregation Micah. That's Cantor Josh Goldberg. I'm Philip Rice. They call me Rabbi Flip. And we remain an inclusive and innovative synagogue that explores and celebrates Jewish life, that is really committed to building community and repairing the whole world. It's a big task. One of the many things that helps us at least attempt to achieve this mission is when we work in partnership with other organizations, especially ones that share our values, share our goals. For instance, we are a member of NOAH, Nashville Organized for Action and Hope, an anti-racist, faith-based coalition comprised of local congregations here in the area that aim to amplify our power by using our many voices in the public arena. It will not surprise you that this organization is a member of what's called Gamliel. Sound Jewish? A national network of local organizations committed to building political power by uniting people of different faiths. We are also part of a network known as Room in the Inn, a program through which we harness the power of spirituality and the practice of love by providing hospitality to the homeless. Shannon Alpert is here, and we got programs in the works. Enter ELNET, an organization that I have supported personally and professionally since its inception. I have learned tremendously from their work, attended their conference in Paris, and I am so very excited for you to hear from our guest this evening, David Siegel, and his son Benjamin's going to share a few words too. ELNET is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to strengthening the relationships between Europe and Israel based on shared democratic values, strategic interests. I cannot imagine where Israel would be today, now, without the groundwork that has been laid in the European Union by this top-notch organization, about which you will hear more this evening. Because partnerships are vital. They generate more power. And power is sort of like money for Jews. It's neutral. What we do with it matters and makes it holy. So we're very into partnerships here at Congregation Micah, and we believe that our community has got a sacred partnership with you, a covenant, if you will. And tonight, while we will pray on behalf of hostages and the sick, we will say Kaddish for people we have lost, we also like to celebrate all that is good in our community. And tomorrow morning, that guy, Kai Diskin, is going to become a bar mitzvah. We'll get to you in a moment. Is anybody celebrating a birthday this evening, this week? Who do we got? Is it your birthday?
I don't have those anymore.
Yeah.
Sunday is Jason Schuster's.
Okay, your son is turning 40 years old. 47 years old? And you're only, I can't do the math. All right, on Sunday, let's remember we'll do birthdays on Sunday for Jason Schuster. Does anybody have an anniversary? Did anyone just finish paying off their mortgage? Does anybody have something they want to share that will allow us to bring more joy into the community for Shabbat tonight? We like to say someone brave, articulate, and brief. Okay, what do you got?
My birthday was last Tuesday.
Okay, that counts. Let's remember to bring her up on Sunday. Oh, she probably won't be here because she's got a big weekend. All right, Kai, we'll get to you. I'm imagining that your birthday is sometime around now. 2 weeks. Well, let's celebrate it, both right now and especially tomorrow morning. We're going to invite you and your family to come on up here. And we're going to get started by bringing in Shabbat, by lighting these Shabbat candles. We read very early in our Torah that God brings order to chaos and light to darkness, and we do the same.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. By welcoming our Sabbath bride. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'linchila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi Likarat kalam b'nei Shabbat nekabelam Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נקרא let's sing together לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצוהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה
Yitgadash v'yitgadash me Rabba.
Amen.
Balma divrach irte v'amlich machute b'chayech ochon u'v'yomechon u'v'yedekod beit Yisrael b'gala u'v'zman kari v'himeru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabach mevorach la'alam u'lamei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shmei d'krusha b'richu Le'elam erko berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechomata Damin Randelma V'himeru. Amen.
Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. המבורך לעולם ועד ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
We invite you to take your seats. This is Lord Baron Eric Pickles. He's a great name, don't you think? We'd probably try to fry him if he came to Tennessee. He's a British Conservative Party politician who served as a member of Parliament for Brentwood in England, not Tennessee. And he said, I heard him, a government decided to eradicate a whole religion, an entire people, systematically. We're good at remembering dead Jews. What does it mean for live Jews? Here's someone who advocates for Israel, who owns Europe's past and some of our Jewish pain. And I met him real briefly at Elnet's conference in Paris in May. Here he is on a panel with Rabbi David Wolpe. You know, my sons love professional athletes, getting up close. And I think my daughter would probably trade a limb for an introduction to Taylor Swift, if anyone knows her. But your rabbi, as expected, geeks out learning from advocates and heroes of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. So who brought them all together? Elnet did. The European Leadership Network. It brings folks together to listen and to learn and to build relationships, all in an effort to unite in support of the land of Israel and the Jewish people. We honor that kind of unity now with these ancient words.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך. ושיננת לבבך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלבבך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ובשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים ללהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם. אדוני אלוהיהם.
Okay, who's this? Dr. Tsega Malaku. She's a member of the Knesset Committee for Immigration, Absorption, and Diaspora Affairs. She writes, when I was growing up in Ethiopia, I was hated because I was a Jew. Jews have an evil eye, others would say in school. I dreamed of one day going home to Jerusalem. And at 16, I made Aliyah. I came to Israel and thought I would be accepted. Then it would be the end of anti-Semitism. I didn't know it was happening all over the world. For me, anti-Israel and anti-Semitism is the same thing. You see, when the sea split and the Israelites made their way safely to the other side, I'm sure that they thought that the hard part was over, that the plagues were in the past. But it wasn't, and they weren't. Because these plagues of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, they still plague us in the world today. So the Jewish quest for our desire to live freely and safely continues. Now we sing in celebration of past liberations, but ultimately we pray for the one day when all people will be free.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh feleh, nora tehilot oseh feleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eni anu ve'yameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yailai, 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 yailai.
We're knocking on the door of a year at this point. A year of not being able to see your loved ones, to know the horrible conditions they may be under. So as always, we take a few minutes amidst the celebration of Shabbat and our song of freedom to think about the people we know and care so much about that are not free. And so we take a pause and we ask God to help us bring them home with these words.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Matir asurim, matir asurim, matir asurim, matir asurim.
Please rise. Adonai sifatav tiftaf ufi agib tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor HaMorah, Elyon, Gomel Chazadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zoker Hasdei Avot V'himachot, Umegiula Livnei V'nehem, L'man Shemo Be'akavah, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magi, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Yibor L'Olam Baranai, Machayeh HaKol Natan Rav L'Choshia, Marid Midhato, Mechayeh Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamin Rami, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayeh El Umato, Lishnei Fafa, Micha Mocha, Baal Gevurot, Umidam Le'ama, Melech Manit, Umakayeh, Umatir Yeshua, V'ne'emat Chayot Habo, Baruch atah Adonai, Machayeh HaKol.
Atah kadosh l'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We always leave a little time for what we call Avodah Shabalev, the prayers of our own hearts. You may be seated when you're through, and we'll come together and sing again.
Each day in the month of Elul, it's customary to recite or chant the words from Psalm 27, Achat Sha'alti, a prayer asking for the privilege of being able to draw closer to God. Achat Sha'alti Meit Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota vakesh, Achat sha'alti meit Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota vakesh, Shivti beveit Adonai, Shivti kol yemei chayai, lachazot benoam Adonai, ulvaker בהיכלו לחזות בנועם Adonai, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה בקש. One thing I ask you, Adonai, to be with me all of my life.
So we always hope God is especially attentive when we are at our central prayer, because it's the time we take to think about those people in this community, people you may know of in other places, that are in need of a prayer for healing. The names on my list include Ron Rubio and Debbie Lawman, Teresa James, Judy Schwartz, Bryna Sarah Bat Devora, Odelia Sasha Bat Bryna Sarah, Betty Stanley, Judith Wolf Mandel, Alan Mandel, Victoria Cohen Crumpton, Mark Hiller, Eddie Sandberg, John Mitchell, and Bill Schreibman. There are certainly others, people you may know of, who are in need of a blessing for healing. I'm going to mention Andy May because he broke some ribs when he was out biking, he told me. If there's other people you're thinking of, we invite you to say their names aloud.
Dr. Blockberry, Giselle LaRose.
We think of all those people as well as our brothers and sisters in the land of Israel and every place in the world where someone needs this prayer. I do not have words, so do an easy one.
Mi shebeirach avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you, Cantor. So, I've been speaking about this organization that I'm in love with, Elnet, for a little while. I'm going to talk a lot in the next coming weeks. Hopefully not too much for you, but we got some big holidays coming. So I'm very quickly going to turn it over to our guests. But before I do that, I want to give you a little bit of a model of the importance of partnerships. Some of you are familiar with AIPAC. And this Elnet organization is not the same. It's a similar model. One of the most powerful things they do is something that we do here at Micah, and that is they take people to the land of Israel. As awesome as our Shalom Israel is throughout the community and our programs, we cannot simulate actually being on the ground. Many of you have traveled with us there and understand that. And so what the organization does is it takes people of influence, people from all over the place. They have offices across Europe such that they take people on a powerful journey, and I have a 3-minute video here that will give you a sense of what it is that they do. Do we have sound? There we go. Okay, very briefly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about David Siegel, who is in our community this evening. He is a former Israeli diplomat that is involved in foreign policy formulation really at the highest levels. It included time as Consul General to the Southwest United States. He has served as Chief of Staff to Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Director of the Foreign Ministry's International Organizations Department, and Chief of Staff to 3 of Israel's ambassadors to the United States. He holds an MA in International Relations from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy and a BA in Political Science from the University of Vermont. His son Benjamin is here, a high school senior, and he's going to share a little as well. I'm not going to take any more of his time. I'm going to invite him up here right now so he can have the microphone and share a little bit about what his passion is, because it is very similar to a lot of ours. Some of you do know him because he zoomed into our schmoozers before. Please, David, join us up here. This is on. This is here if you push the button if you need it. And I will take care of this if you need anything.
Okay, I'm not doing any slides.
You don't have to do it.
Shabbat Shalom. Some of you have seen me on Zoom. I think I recognize some faces here. It's great to be with you, and it's great to share my son's story with you tonight as well. We'll get to him in a few minutes. So, look, you saw the video. This was the first international delegation to go into Gaza with the Israeli Defense Forces. They actually spent 4 hours on the border between Egypt and Gaza, where all those tunnels are. This has never been done before. So this is what we do. This is our 32nd delegation this year, since October 7th, of European leaders. And our vision, as the rabbi shared, is we're too small as a people to be out there without friends, without allies, whether it's locally in your communities or globally in global communities. And the founders of this organization, ELNET, the European Leadership Network, the vision 15 years ago was, what do we do if the day comes, sometime in the future, where we won't be able to solely count on America? And in those days, nobody believed that was even in question. But look at the situation today. Look at the voices that you hear. Look at the rise of anti-Semitism in this country and the polarization. And Israel is always sort of a ball in the court between Democrats, Republicans. It's not as secure as it used to be. And, you know, you don't have friends only when you need them. You need to build relationships, and those relationships need to be reciprocal. And you need to invest time and energy and many, many years in forging these relationships. And this is what we've been doing for the last 15 years. There was a lot of skepticism about Europe in the old days. That skepticism is not there today. So when these delegations come together to Israel, especially now this year when Israel is in so much pain, and this war is the longest war since 1948 and the most difficult war that Israel has faced, or the Jewish people have faced really since the Holocaust, as you all know. Israel's whole concept was the exact opposite. It was fast, quick, end it quickly, come back home, build your country, build your economy, build your relations. But this has been a very, very difficult year. And it may not only be this year, because we're in a new world situation. America today is in a different place than it was 10, 20 years ago. The world is changing. You have Russia invading in Europe for the first time since World War II. You have China becoming more and more aggressive. They're connected to Iran. Iran has a whole army of proxies that are really surrounding Israel. And Israel right now, including tonight, is battling on 7 fronts. So just look at your news tonight, you'll see rocket fire on northern Israel. There are civilians there. They're facing sometimes 100 rockets a day. So we're in a new world, much more dangerous. People compare it to the 1930s. There's no real system out there to stop any of this anymore. There's no multilateral systems, led by the United States and the West. All of that is just not functioning like it used to. So we need to build our friendships. And Kai, it's your bar mitzvah this weekend. Mazel tov to you. My bar mitzvah was a little bit back, but one thing in my bar mitzvah was the parasha called Balak. And there's a very famous saying in that Torah portion, and it's, the Israelites are a people that shall dwell alone. Was that a blessing or a curse? It was a curse. We should not be a people that dwell alone. We should have friends and we should have allies. So this is what we do. So we have a small organization. It's those of you who know AIPAC, it's a very large entity now. We're around 5% of the AIPAC budget. We operate in Europe in multiple countries. Not just Washington, D.C., but in our world, it's something like 50 countries. The European Union has 27 countries, plus all these others that are not members of the EU that we work in. So we do it on a small budget, but we're able to bring all these delegations to Israel. And since October 7th, we brought, as I said, 300 members of parliament from 25 countries. They've all been to the south. I've been on some of these trips. You saw the images of the kibbutzim, the southern communities in Israel that were absolutely devastated when Hamas invaded Israel on October 7th. When they see it with their own eyes, they go back home and it changes their lives forever. So we need to do more of these. We know that, and we're planning for 2025 to do at least as much delegations from all over. We're going to have more of these military folks that will come, that will speak for Israel in the world courts, in world media, because we simply have to fight back. Europe is very important to Israel. I don't know if you've been to Israel. Who's been to Israel here in the room? Lots of you have been to Israel. Great. So I grew up in Haifa, and Haifa is 20 minutes away from Cyprus in light aircraft. Cyprus is already Europe. It's right there. Israel's largest markets, closest markets, Israel's most defense exports go to Europe. Very strange that, how history plays tricks on us. But after the United States, Israel's most important ally today is Germany. Germany is the world's 4th or 5th largest economy. Germany is also facing Russia. They're very close. In fact, they're sort of maybe breathing a sigh of relief that Russia went to Ukraine and not straight into Europe. They rushed to purchase equipment from Israel. The Arrow 3, which is a missile defense system, is now in Germany, and it's being installed by Israeli technicians and engineers. So you think about the historic irony of 75, 76 years after the Holocaust, and now you have Israeli technology protecting Germans, but not just Germans, all of the eastern flank of Europe, all of those countries that are exposed to Russia. And everyone knows that Russia is not going to stop in Ukraine, and certainly the Eastern Europeans know that. So these are very, very strong alliances, but they don't happen on their own. And there needs to be a network, an organization, and we're the only ones that do this, exclusively building relations between Israel and that part of the world. We also believe that for the United States, in the future, given the way the world is changing and America itself is changing and all the debates that you have here internally, that the United States needs allies that can step up on their own, like Germany, and protect itself and not need the United States so much, because the United States is going to have to be in other parts of the world or doing more at home. So for all of these reasons, we're about building the Western Alliance. And I just want, so many things happen now so quickly that I just want to remind you of one or two things that happened this year after October 7th. On April 13th, Iran decided for the first time to attack Israel directly. Up until now, they hid behind the scenes. They were the puppeteers. They had all the other forces doing it for them. Something changed, very, very significant, and they decided to fire 350 cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and attack drones on the state of Israel. And we all knew it was coming. If you remember, we were all watching the news. Ben, nobody was doing homework in our house that night. We were all sitting and watching this in real time, and they planned it. The drones take 8 hours. The cruise missiles take 2 hours, and the ballistic missiles take minutes. And they were planning all 350 of them all at the same time after midnight in Israel on April 13th, as it turned into the 14th. It was a lot for a small country to handle. 99% of those missiles and drones were shot down. This is historic. It's never happened before in history. How did Israel do it? It did it with a coalition. The Israeli pilots have been training with French pilots and British pilots and certainly American pilots. And the early warning systems from Saudi Arabia through the Gulf to Jordan, where the French aircraft went up in the air and shot down the missiles even before they came towards Israel. The British Air Force came out of Cyprus, from air bases where the British have historically been present in that part of the world. They came up in the air and helped Israel shoot down hundreds of drones. So today we can't do it alone. We can't be a people that dwell alone. And being with the United States, given everything that's happening in the world and in the United States, is simply not enough. So we need to cultivate friends and allies, and we need to be reciprocal. We need to understand what they need from us. You know, I started as a diplomat in Africa. My first experience with Israeli diplomacy was drip irrigation. And I can't tell you how many friends it won for the state of Israel over the years, just providing them with agricultural high-tech all over the world, and this builds friendships. Not every day of the week are we going to be happy with everything that world governments say, and governments come and go. Look at the UK. One day they're the best friends of Israel, and now it's changed, and it's the Labour Party in the UK, and they're causing some problems for the state of Israel right now. So we need to spread out, and we need to be effective, and we need to be wise in the way we do things. I'm not going to solicit tonight because it's Shabbat, but I will tell you that we have materials outside for you to take with you tonight. We have a conference in Paris that the rabbi just mentioned. We're going to do one in May. You can come to our conference if you want to come to Paris and see what we do. To sponsor one of these European leaders to come to Israel is $5,000 roughly, depending on El Al tickets right now, because we don't have too many airlines going to Israel, unfortunately. So we need to put a lot into these missions and delegations, but it pays back tremendously. The Arrow 3, bringing the delegation from Germany that decided to purchase it, cost us $70,000. The Arrow 3, sold by Israel to Germany, was $4.5 billion. Think about the return on investment. This is what we do and what we need to continue to do. So thank you for hearing me out, but now I want to bring someone very special, my son Ben, who has a personal story to share with you, and I think it will be very relevant for everyone in the room and certainly the younger people in the room. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. On the morning of October 7th, I woke up to a text from a friend in Israel. The text read, "Ben, Yanai was killed." On the morning of October 7th, Zikim, Israel, the border between Gaza and the base of Zikim, right on the beach, Hamas terrorists infiltrated the land. That morning, many people were celebrating on the beach. When the Hamas terrorists infiltrated, many of those civilians rushed to the bases nearby. My friend, an Israeli-American named Yanai Kaminka, was one of the first people to take them in and bring them to safety. Yanai was 20 years old, and he and a few other officers were the only true leaders at the base that day. There were about 100 trainees and a family that was visiting as well. Yanai was the only one that day to secure all of them, as the other officers were fighting on the front lines. Yanai eventually heard the screams of his friends and rushed to the front lines. And after about 4 hours of fighting, Yanai, a fellow officer, and 2 trainees were killed instantly by an RPG. I wanted to share a story that someone posted actually on Instagram. And this is a story of one of the 20 people that Yanai managed to save from the beach that day. He said that he had never met Yanai before, but that morning when Yanai brought them to safety, there was something very warm about him. And he just felt this immense sense of security. And when Yanai told them that there was no problem and that they were all safe, they believed him. They had already seen many of their friends butchered on the beaches, and they believed him. He was such a strong leader that they were safe. And so, in this story, the survivor talks about how Yanai was never supposed to go out. His orders were to stay back with the civilians. Yanai decided not to listen, and he instead trained one of his trainees on the spot within minutes on what to do. And then Yanai ran out. And so the survivor tells a story of courage and leadership. And he also shared that among the 20 civilians that Yanai saved that day from the beach, there was a couple, an engaged couple, who was just about to be married. And he says that when people get married, you stand under the chuppah and you say, you promise that you will never forget Jerusalem. And the survivor says that although Yanai saved 20 civilians from the beach that day, he also saved 20 families. And 20 families and 20 future generations. And so we go back to remembering Jerusalem and never forgetting Jerusalem. And he shares that soon the couple will be married, and 18 of the other individuals will soon be married as well. And they will stand under the chuppah one day and say, we will never forget Jerusalem, we promise. And in their hearts, they will always remember that Yanai is their Jerusalem. So after October 7th, I was really frozen. I learned of a community vigil that was taking place, and I demanded to speak. At 20 years old, it was Yanai's responsibility to save his people that day. And at 16, it was my responsibility to continue his story and to continue his legacy. And so that night I spoke about Yanai and his values. And there's this one value that I really carried deeply with me. And that is that we cannot establish peace until we understand each other's pain. Before Yanai enlisted, he was offered to serve in a combat unit, but he declined that offer in favor of serving a humanitarian service in the search and rescue unit. Before his friends enlisted in combat units, Yanai introduced his Palestinian neighbors, his Palestinian friends, and his Palestinian family to his friends, because he believed that he had to ensure that both sides understood each other's experiences and pain. And so today, I believe that we cannot foster peace without understanding each other's pain. However, we must first understand each other's pain before we can speak of and act upon our own. My father just spoke about how Israel cannot handle this global anti-Semitism by itself. So I wanted to share my story and what I did after October 7th. So that night at the vigil, I spoke in front of 5,000 people. Among the members of the audience was the mayor of Stamford, Connecticut, who invited me to speak at town hall. Local news stations who invited me to speak. A reverend from a Black Baptist church invited me to be the keynote speaker on MLK Day. I was invited to speak at a Jewish high school where myself and a congressman were the only speakers. This work is vital to mitigating the anti-Semitism that we face today. And I want to tell you guys that there is hope. And that hope is my generation. My generation has the responsibility and the ability to foster connections and bridges between all communities. Yesterday, my father and I took an Uber to the Vanderbilt campus. We had a great conversation with the driver until he asked us if we were Jewish. Proudly, my father said yes, and proudly, the Uber driver stayed silent and would not speak to us. And that is just a small circumstance of anti-Semitism that people face today. So I want to tell you guys that there is hope. Our generation must begin to foster relationships. If not, October 7th will happen again and again and again, whether in Israel, whether in Europe, or whether in the United States. We must not stay silent, and we must act. At my school, I was fortunate enough to be supported by a big Jewish population. Although, I want to say that the people who truly understood my pain were the Muslims at my school who faced Islamophobia. And that is what I believe is the strongest aspect about this whole situation. That there are leaders on both sides, that there are peacemakers on both sides. And with those people, we must connect. And with those people, we must collaborate. And with those people, we must act together. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.
I want to thank both of our speakers this evening. We're going to go ahead and think about those people who still touch our lives through the power of memory. On this Shabbat specifically, we are thinking and continue to mourn for Jonathan Biller and Sidney Rappaport, Alan Grohlman and Jeff Hardwood, David Plashnik, Homer Middleton, Dr. Daniel Bachman, Michael Walsh, Alan Elliott Goldstein, Joyce Abramovich Margolis, Judith Richter, Carol Isabel Korn, David Crystal, John Holmes Wolfarth, Edward Horn, Dolores Edward, Susan Duffy, Mara Schwartz, Baxter Overton, Alan Frohl, Joe Fontella, Esther Didi Denbo Lipman, Chip Alberts, Alex Morgan, Iris Weissman, Matthew Curlin, Ellen Oakes, Charles Schwartz, Elizabeth Lazar, Richard Dick Eskin, Mary Spencer, Erwin Schwartz, Patricia Helen Barnett Wind, Lizzie Kappelman, Ava Marks, Marvin Millman, Joanne Middleton, Dr. Marvin Schwartz, and Sylvia Samus. We also recall on the anniversaries of their deaths, Milton Barnett, Francis Blaker Thompson, Shirley David Abramovitz, Nina Franklin Liff, Wilba Freeman, Susan Freeman, Phyllis Goldberg, Alfred Grief Jr., Ray Heyman, Charles Hitch, Abraham Horowitz, Donna Karp, Sidney Katzoff, Annie Kastenberg, Beverly Lawler, Israel Lazaro, Aaron Libin, Max Lickstein, Dr. Mark Felk, Susan Quint Friedman, Shandel Rydell, Mildred Rosenthal, Lucas Santangelo, and Paula Weinstein. If there's any names I've neglected to mention, or just ones you'd like to say aloud, we always invite you to do so.
Jeff Robertson and Bill Hodge.
Dr. Don Jaffee.
Ellen Baskin.
We think of all the Israeli soldiers, of all the people who have lost their lives senselessly, everyone who's been a blessing to humanity. And I invite you all to please rise one final time for the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, ve'amad yivrach yirutei ve'amlik malchutei, b'chayakon uv'yomachon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birkata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael the Imru, Amen. We ask as always that the source of peace send peace to all people who are mourning and comfort to anyone who may feel bereaved. We say one final time together, Amen. Okay, we got to do a kiddush. Nobody gets to sit down. I'm going to make Kai come back up here to hold the cup. We're going to thank the Diskin family for all those treats we had prior in our pre-neg. We're going to conclude our service with a hatikva because we couldn't help ourselves, Cantor Josh and I. And don't let me forget to blow the shofar. Amen. Take a sip. Don't spill it. Take a sip. I don't know. Are you driving?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Okay, we're ending on hope, just like one of our speakers did. Hope for the future and hope for the state of Israel. The words are hatikva. I got them transliterated for you. Please join us.
Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homiha Ufate Mizrach Kadima Ayin Letzion Sofia Od lo avda tikvatenu Hatikva bat shnot alpayim Liot am chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim Liot am chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom.